Welcome back. It is Friday, and man, there is no better way to end it than our old buddy Jeffrey the Greek. The Greek freak is back.
How are we doing, guys?
Great, but you're not Greek. But
no, I'm about as Greek as the computer I'm looking at.
What just out of curiosity, what is your nationality?
The German. Almost completely German.
I did one of those DNA things.
Yep.
And just
they came back 100% awesome.
Boom. Love that. Oh, gotta remember that one. Gotta put that one in the think cap. But it confirmed my 75% Irish Britishness. The other 25% French German. But I looked at the thing and it's not really. It is, but it's in the Netherlands and that whole little, that circle.
Sure.
Yeah. But mostly there he is. Now we're going to turn to Paige, Mitchell Paige. Turning to Paige with Mitchell.
Sorry, I'm late.
Greek freak. That's okay.
What's going on,
you guys have never met. Jeffrey the Greek, former, he's an Iowa guy, but he predates you by like 12, 13 years, I think.
Yeah, we don't need to get into
details. Unimportant details. Both played. He played at Iowa. You played at Indiana. But Jeff joins us during the football season mainly, but just because he's just fun and funny, like you, like yourself. We just have fun.
I wouldn't say I'm either of those things, but thank you. That's a big compliment. Jeffrey, great to meet you, man.
You too, brother.
Heard a lot about it.
He's got the nice little print behind him. Looks like a U2 album cover.
You talking about me?
Yeah, it looks like what's the
or maybe Men at Work. It's got kind of an Australian flavor to it.
I'm thinking you painted that. Get out of here!
No, I did not paint that. You should
get out of here.
Don't believe anything that I am wearing.
I usually don't.
Look at that.
I think you heard the question in my voice. Not that you have great abilities. I just did not think art was one of them.
No. So what are we talking about today, boys?
Well, Dave G just asked us, what does college football bring that much more money into the university than basketball? Why does college football? Well, I'll tell you that easy. Number one, because
football is king.
Let's say Michigan plays a basketball game and Michigan plays a football game. How much money does Michigan bring in for that football game? Although I know they play many more basketball games than football. What do they make? $6 million a game, probably. They charge $55 for media to park.
And that's not even counting the eyeballs to the TV set, which is I don't know the numbers off the top of my head, but there's got to be 10, 15 times more viewers into a football game, Michigan football game, than a Michigan basketball game.
Football is king. That's the simple answer.
It's king. It's the king sport in this country. Mm-hmm. NFL is the king sport. It used to be baseball, but the NFL is the king of all sports in this country.
And if you've seen any of Joel Klatt's tweets this week, he's talking about how the positioning that we've been seeing for the past, 10 days or so, how that could actually put college football a hard number 2 in the country. Maybe it's already there, but he thinks the way things are going, the way the TV deals are going with the conferences, that's essentially the goal of the powers that be for college football.
I agree with that. The changes that have happened recently. First of all, let's talk about USC and UCLA into the big, baby. I think it's great. I'm looking forward to getting to go to Los Angeles every other year. Get to go to the Rose Bowl every other year. Get to go to Memorial Coliseum every other year. Get to go to Pauley Pavilion. I'm looking forward to it. And I was thinking, what can the Big Ten do? The only thing I kept thinking was Notre Dame. Well, that's easy. I'll be honest with you. USC and UCLA were not even on my radar, but that's because I wasn't thinking outside of the box, and I was letting those boundaries guide me. I'm looking at it with those boundaries. You can't do that. They invented planes a long time ago, and there ain't much difference between being on a plane for 2 hours or 3 hours.
Yeah,
the only difference is an hour. So
I'd be interested in your opinion on it, Jeffrey. I know you follow college football pretty closely and the whole landscape of it. So I'd be curious how you think it affects football, but also how does it affect the entire athletics program? Because it's kind of been a commonly talked about thing. Like how does the tennis team have a Tuesday night match? Penn State versus USC, whoever travels to where. How do you coordinate that? So in the big money sports and also in the non-revenue sports.
Yeah, my guess is honestly they don't even have that figured out yet. They just, as far as I know, Jim said he likes it. We talked about this on one of the latest Eyes on Big podcasts where, we like it, in quotation marks, like it as a Big Ten fan, because we saw the power play that happened between the SEC and Texas and Oklahoma almost a year ago to the day. It left a bad taste in everybody's mouth. And then everybody had been asking, so what does the Big Ten do to counterpunch that? Well, this was it, obviously, with USC and UCLA. And it seems like the Big Ten is going to hold pat right now because I believe they want to, I don't know if the term put pressure on Notre Dame is the right way to put it, but this power play opens the door to Notre Dame joining the Big Ten more than before USC joined. So do I like it? No, I want to go back to the Big Ten where it was the Big Ten with the 11, hidden in the logo.
Best logo in the world.
Best logo in the world. That's the Big Ten I grew up on. Nothing against Nebraska and Maryland and Rutgers fans, but that was so. If like, do I like it? No, that's what I want. But understanding the catch-up is way out of the bottle. And we can't do anything about that. This is the best thing we can do to excite us Big Ten fans.
You can get ketchup back in a bottle, baby, but you can't get the Big Ten back.
No. What do you think about? And I know we got to go to break probably here pretty soon. Maybe not too soon.
No, we're good. No, you're good.
Okay. Cool.
Look at Mitchell. Look at Mitchell co-hosting, baby. Love it.
I only did it once. But
training.
I'm more curious. So this is kind of the first start to what everyone believes is going to be the super conference. What does that mean for? Obviously, we're all Indiana guys here. I know you're an Iowa guy, but you're on an Indiana guy right now. What does that mean for a school like Indiana or Illinois? Indiana has basketball, I guess, but I want to know,
what does it mean for these teams in football? Illinois, like you're saying, the Illinois, the Indianas, Purdue's, because there is a freaking difference in the Big Ten between Ohio State, between the haves and the have-nots. There just is.
Right.
And that's not going to change.
Like some other teams,
Yeah, there's a difference between the haves and have-nots. It has been that way since Mitchell's been alive, since I've been alive, even since Jim's been alive. That's been the case. Like nothing's changing that.
That square wheels back then.
I think each one of us has a romanticized memory of what college football was back in the day. The 90s is when I fell in love. But even if you look back then, a lot of the same faces were the dominant teams then as they are now. So that's just how it is. As far as like what it's going to mean for Indiana football, it's funny. I actually had a back and forth with a Hoosier fan on Twitter when I put out an initial guess. If we go to 20 teams and we go to a pod system where there's 4 or 5 team pods, one of the pods I predicted the Great Lakes pod or whatever I called it, the Big Central was Michigan, Ohio State, Michigan State, and then Indiana and Purdue.
Of course. Well, thanks a lot.
That's what I'm, and that is you actually just
that's worse than
Indiana. That's what the
that's
Indiana.
Worse than what they have right now.
I do not disagree with that, and I mean this with a full heart. I don't mean this against Indiana, but wouldn't
somebody's got to be the whipping dog?
Wouldn't it be so Indiana football that they're the whipping dog in this scenario? Like if there's switches and changes, the Big Ten is obviously prioritizing its flagship programs and protecting them. That's what the SEC has done for the past 25 years, and it's worked out for them. The Big Ten is essentially going to take a page out of that same book, and it's not good for programs like the Hoosiers.
I think how about Penn State, Maryland, Rutgers, Indiana, and Michigan State?
It's a big pod.
I mean,
1, 2, 3, 4, 5 teams.
That seemed like more than 5, but I mean, obviously Michigan
that has a little more balance to me.
Yeah, but obviously Michigan is tethered to Ohio State, and Michigan is tethered to
Michigan State.
Yeah, both of them. I mean, obviously they're
those three have to stay together.
Those teams are going to stay together.
You can cross. Yeah. No, you can have them cross games. That could be their guarantee game, their guarantee play game.
Right, but so by the way, I mean, and by the way, Minnesota is tethered to Wisconsin. It's the oldest rivalry in college football, and Minnesota is tethered to Iowa.
But you don't have to be in the same pod or division. You can just have the guarantee game.
Essentially, you're in the same pod if that's the case. By the way, I've actually changed my mind on the pods. I don't even think we're going to go pods anymore. I think it's just going to be.
We got pods. It sounds like a Trump thing. Oh, we got pods. No pods. We're going to have pods. Lots of pods. We're going to have a lot of great pods. You're going to love the pods we're going to have. They're going to be so great. Lots of pods. Pods everywhere. No, I've changed my mind. No pods. We're not doing the pods. No pods. The pods are bad. No pods. Pods are bad. Bad. Just
I mean, I'm with you in that it seems like it's all over the place, but the more I think about it, the more they're just going to do one big conference, and there's going to be protected rivals, but they want to have that flexibility where the Big Ten will have control over who the big programs play. I mean, you can dang well guarantee that Ohio State and USC are going to play a regular season game the first year USC is in the conference. They're not going to turn down that type of TV revenue, and they're just going to kind of redo that every year.
Yeah.
I don't see how Notre Dame stays out of any conference, because there's going to come a time, I think, where the college football just says, screw you. Where you going to go? What you going to do if we have our own championship? And this is the rule. You have to be in a conference. Period. That's the rule.
First of all, I don't think the NCAA has the power to.
There will be no NCAA, and they will have nothing to do with the college football championship.
So I don't know who's making that rule. That's if the conference.
They will make themselves. They can get together and create it themselves.
We'll see. It could be. I will say, though, that, I think we all think it's going to something like a 12-team playoff. As long as Notre Dame can literally get 12 football teams on their schedule, which, by the way, is a question mark. Okay,
Which is going to be much, much more difficult as these conferences start, because the Big Ten, you have to play 9 conference games already. Now, Notre Dame is fortunate in that they have Big Ten teams on their schedule. Michigan, I don't know who else that they currently have.
Michigan State.
Indiana's on there in like 7 years. That's about the time that they'll probably be in the Big Ten about then. So that game will be just in time for that to be a conference game for Indiana and for that to count against them in their pod. So,
I'm curious, and maybe this is a little off base, but Notre Dame has stayed independent this long because of the massive money deal they have with NBC, correct?
Well, don't say massive. It's not massive.
True.
What the Big Ten has.
It was massive.
Okay. What the Big Ten has is big and it's about to be massive.
That's so. I guess my second part of that, the transition, was Notre Dame just falls in line once the huge money starts going to the Big Ten, and they start to get left behind a little bit.
Well, Indiana, Indiana probably pulls in twice as much as Notre Dame does.
At least for if we're just talking TV, yes,
2 times.
There's obviously endowments and everything that Notre Dame.
Yeah. But I'm talking about from that double. Indiana gets double what Notre Dame gets
for sure.
But they have that flexibility. But when that turns into 125 million, if this is a 20-team conference with Notre Dame, it's not going to be 100 million. It's probably going to be 125 million dollars per team.
Yep.
And Notre Dame I think they're pulling in maybe 35 million right now a year. So when you compare 35 to 125, man, I didn't do well in math, but I did well enough that tells me we got to take a break. So we'll do that and back.